All right.
No.
Good to go, man. Ready?
Okay, sounds good.
Oh yeah, and you don't need this unless you want to really enunciate.
Okay.
I mean, they can hear everything through here. And the microphone's actually at the ceiling at the go.
Okay.
So unless you really want it,
Okay.
you don't really need it.
All right. Are we live now? Do you need to? Okay. If everyone could take your seats. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Happy early holidays. We'll cover some well wishes momentarily, but we will go ahead and get started. Want to let everyone know that we've been informed by the secretary that we do have quorum, so we can conduct the business of the day. Both confirmed by the secretary and the parliamentarian. The first order of business is the approval of the October minutes. Is there a motion to approve the October minutes? Moved Lee and seconded by Senator Culpepper. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed no. The ayes have it. I have missed banging the gavel. All right, I will. We have a couple of business items, so I will keep my updates brief. First, I do want to, point of personal privilege, thank Jessica and all the members of exec for really helping me out in the last couple of weeks. I had some first world problems, international travel with our women's basketball team to Paris. Shout out Coach Staley and our team being 2-0, 215 points in 2 weeks, not bad. Back to rank #1 in the country. But then before that, I had a little bit of illness and I was hospitalized momentarily, so I'm all good. But I do appreciate all the members of exec for performing admirably in my absence. Probably the meeting ran even better than usual. Thank you, Vice President Classione. But thank you to all of them. But do want to update you on a couple of things. The employee incentives / perks / benefits, please choose your own adjective. Survey will be going out. Please complete that by November the 30th. We will email that out to you. Just as a reminder, please go into as much detail as possible. Nothing is too granular. Nothing is too small. We want to do our very best to determine what sort of incentives and other benefits are available in your unit, so we can use that information to advocate for additional benefits and incentives in other units. So if there's anything and everything, from whether it's a t-shirt to meal swipes to flexibility to working remotely, comp time, any of those things, please be sure to include those. If you recall, Student Affairs is doing something great to incentivize their staff and increase engagement with students. And that led to a conversation about trying to get our hands on what others are doing, so we can take some of those great ideas and hopefully implement those across the university as well. Maybe at university-wide level, but at least so senators know and can advocate at the unit level with their leadership as well. So before we move on from that, we did have a pretty robust discussion on that last meeting. Does anyone have any questions, any carryover thoughts, or anything else they would like to bring up as it relates to this topic? Any? All right, thank you very much. We will send that out, but please do complete that. A couple other updates. We will very soon have, going back to the idea around creating some mental health space for staff. We should have some potential renderings and a budget figure that we will then take to university leadership certainly before our next meeting, hopefully before we break for the holidays. So we will update you on that as that is coming. Again, that's an initiative that started last session that is carried over, and we have had a number of meetings with the university architect, Derek Bruner, as well as members of his team regarding that topic. Very briefly, then we'll get into our committee reports. During the women's basketball trip, the president was on that trip. I did have the opportunity to engage with him a number of times about staff senate initiatives. The next big thing on the agenda is this mental health space funding, as well as funding for our staff appreciation day. So more to come on that, but we will continue to press forward on both of those things. As a reminder, President Emeritus will be our speaker for our January meeting. Our December meeting, for those of you that were here last year, we do have Jeff Black returning to complete professional development training. Jeff is a wonderful, wonderful supporter of the university and very talented executive coach. He's going to talk about communication skills and a number of things. If you were here last year, remember just how great that presentation was. The Professional Development Committee did a wonderful job of soliciting feedback from senators after that presentation, and it was a pretty, and Senator Doran, you correct me if I'm wrong, but pretty resounding response that if given the opportunity for him to return, that we would love to welcome him back. And he has agreed to return based on our feedback and has agreed to do it at his very affordable cost of $0. So we are very grateful to have an expert that also is giving us an expert price. Before I go on, I should have started this at the top. I do want to welcome any visitors who are here. Please know that you are always welcome. Make sure that if you have any questions before or after you connect with your senator or any member of the body, any member of our leadership, and we'll be happy to have you. Also, welcome and thank you to those of you who are joining online as well. I've got a couple of things at the tail end of the meeting that I'll cover. Do want to mention that we did have Ashley Kelly-Quirk, who is from the Save It office, who is going to speak with us today. Unfortunately, an illness precludes her from joining, so we will look to reschedule that as soon as we can. But just want to underscore how important that office is to the university, but also to senators as well. We will get some information in the interim that we can shoot out to you about that office. But just as a personal note, one, we pride ourselves on being resources for our constituents, whether that is discussing employee perks and benefits or whether that is something that might fall under the Save It office. So we'll make sure that you have the information and the correct information here. But also, I think it's important that those listening and guests and anyone at the university know that our staff senators are not just resources for like I mentioned, the employee perks and benefits, but can also be resources for difficult and challenging times, whether that's connecting staff with someone of the EAP or whether that's connecting them with a resource here on campus. We want to make sure that you all have all the information that if a situation that would fall under this office occurs, we want to make sure, one, you've got some level of knowledge on what that office does, and if you are presented with that situation, you know where to go. So we will look to wish Ashley well in recovery, and we will get her or someone from their office here for a meeting in the very near future. With that, since we do not have a guest speaker, we will jump into committee reports, and then we have a couple of agenda items that will call for a vote. Some of those may have some discussion or debate, so we want to ensure that we have plenty of time for those. So we will go ahead and jump into our committee reports. First, membership committee.
We decided we're tag teaming from now on, so.
If you'd like the microphone, please.
Okay.
All right, hey everybody, Julia Hodge, membership. Also membership. We are just giving you a little bit of updates. We don't have a huge amount of updates right now, but just so that everyone knows, we are still working on the apportionment issue. We are still prepping and getting ready for executives. That's the next level of elections. Those will be coming up soon. So we are working on that. But the main thing is apportionment. You may have seen, since all of us use the same Teams channel, that we asked a question. It was really for our membership committee right now at this stage. However, as we all know, we can join in and voice our opinions on all of our committees, which is wonderful. So in that case, if you do have an opinion on apportionment, if you want to, feel free to take a look. Right now, what we're doing is we're looking at the current apportionment, which means the current set of numbers representing each unit. And right now, the easiest, best way, I think, to find that information is to look at the Staff Senate website. So if you're on just our general public, accessible to everyone, Staff Senate webpage, there is a list of all of us in the room and the breakdown by kind of unit, department, academic unit, that sort of thing. So in that case, take a look at the website and you can compare that to what previous years membership committee has kind of put forth. They did a lot of the legwork for us. which we're appreciative of. And so now we're kind of taking a look at all of that to see what it looks like in comparison, and then we'll go from there. So if you have some opinions on what you think we should see, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to take that feedback back, and we'll be discussing all that at our next committee meeting. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have some recommendations for us to maybe move forward with, at least with the bylaws committee, by the end of the semester.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. I'm not sure if that question did go out to the public or
No,
not.
they just can see it.
Oh,
Like, we
okay.
can all see everyone's channels, so.
I didn't know.
Yeah, so be careful.
Are you
Yeah.
looking at either option A, B, or C? Is that kind of what you guys are talking
For
about?
now, yeah, but of course, like, if somebody throws out an amazing option B, we're not saying we won't consider it.
Sure.
You know, right now, I think the issue is more looking at what has been proposed in the past, and then looking at where we are currently, the gaps in that process, and where we think we need to go. You know, we don't want us to grow exorbitantly large, right? But at the same time, you know, we both, Chris is from the College of Education. He happens to be here because he's on exec, right? So otherwise, we're just the only ones from our unit. And so if we're not here, there could be missed issues. So that's kind of part of the question. Does that make sense? Does it not? Where should we go?
Yeah, and it looks like in the past they had moved towards recommending it. I don't know exactly what happened. Maybe they ran out of time.
Yeah, we don't. All right, thanks, everybody.
If I could just add one note on membership too, that if you haven't been deeply involved in the apportionment discussion, what we're trying to do is find what is the best way to advocate and represent all of our staff. So
Yeah.
there's a number of different strategies. There's a number of different ways you can turn this thing inside out, and there's wonderful rationale for all of them. But at the end of the day, what this committee is really hoping to do is what is the most effective way for this body to advocate for individuals, advocate for units, and also advocate to university leadership. So as you can tell, there's a number of different buckets here that they're trying to accomplish, which is why it is a tall task, and it is a difficult task, and one that does take a lot of time, because there is a lot of consideration for all these. And every different option, there's pluses, there's minuses. So at the end of the day, I think we all come together and know that we just want to make this the most robust, the strongest, and most effective body we can. And by looking at what's working now, what could be improved. So appreciate the membership committee and the bylaws committee that I know it's been we considered this last session, if you will, still under consideration now. So please, if you have thoughts, whether as a senator or if your constituents have had thoughts, please share those, particularly those of you who are in colleges and units. Some of you represent a lot of staff members. So if you have anecdotal evidence or thoughts of, this is just, it's hard for me to represent 400 people, that's good to know. So please share with the membership committee, share with anyone on exec as well, what your experience is like, because that will really help inform what they bring to the whole body. So if you have personal experiences on your advocacy experiences or dealing with staff, please feel free to share those.
There's a lot of if then. So.
Mhm.
All right,
Make
next.
sure you have enough seats in here too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Communications committee.
Hello. Do I have a slide? Nope, just kidding. The biggest update is we've created a template via email to share out the updates from this meeting, and it's essentially combining the agenda and minutes that Katherine and Jessica maintained and interested in for writing session minutes. Just to share out the important updates. We know everyone kind of does this on their own, but having a cohesive option that anyone can edit. So I'll send a little screenshot of it in the Teams chat for everyone to see. But our goal is after each staff senate meeting, one of the communications committee members will edit down the whole meeting and to kind of bite-size important pieces. Obviously, some things could be cut, but the great thing is it's an email template, so if you needed to add something in or take something away that you don't think relevant for your organization, that's totally fine. But just wanted to have a simplified way to share this out. It is going to be via email. So our next process here is to figure out how can we get this email and distribute it to those who maybe aren't checking their emails every day or have access to their emails every day, or even it's just not part of their job. So we're looking into, whether that's tagging it on the bulletin board or sliding it under a door, or, a carrier pigeon in that sort of way. So stay tuned for those. We're going to try to be pretty consistent with them, but again, it is flexible. So you can add, take away, edit what you see fit, but it does have our little pointer on the top. So I'll put up a screenshot in the chat after this, but that is the main update from us.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the Communications Committee for accomplishing that. That's something we've talked about, trying to streamline and give all the senators the resources and the easiest way to get information out to your constituents. So thank you very much. All right, staff policy and well-being.
Hey, at our last meeting, we had an update from HR, which we have every meeting, which mainly focused on EPMS changes. Don't hold your breath on those anytime soon. It sounds like that process is going more slowly than anticipated, which Caroline also talked about, trying to improve the process for hiring research grant employees, which has been a big issue with faculty. And we talked about their plans to develop a new website, or an improved website, I should say, that would focus on different constituencies. Jessica McCormick and on our committee met with Liam Hine, who is the chair of the Faculty Welfare and Wellbeing Committee, and he's going to attend our December meeting, and we're going to talk about areas in which we can collaborate. And I know that he had some specific ideas about areas where we can collaborate, which is exciting. And I've forgotten. And we talked about, starting to talk about creating accessibility, temporary accessibility for staff. So our next meeting is this Friday via Teams at 10 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Got one staff policy well-being update from the president's update. Now I'll defer also Vice President Cassandra, but the staff ombudsperson interviews, we've completed virtual interviews. There have been 3 candidates, I believe 3 candidates who have been selected to be on campus. Just got an email actually just right before this meeting that one of those interviews, we're trying to move as quick as possible. One of those interviews may be occurring on Thursday. So that process is moving along. We're very excited about the candidates. Vice President Class, do you want to share anything about the process thus far?
Yeah, so for the on-campus, we are hoping to have the 3 candidates be exposed to the Office of Access, Community Engagement and Civil Rights, the other Ombuds office staff as well. Then have a group of staff senators, so you all, constituents representing the university, to come and connect with them, and then have a time with the exec committee to talk about the history and background of why this is our first ombudsperson for staff at the University of South Carolina, and it really was born and bred here. So we are just connecting with them. Again, 3 phenomenal candidates, so we want to get your feedback on as well. So just be on the lookout as we're just going to look for people that might be available to come sit in these interviews. We are figuring out timing. One of those candidates is going to be here relatively soon in this area, so we wanted to be able to capture them sooner. So yeah, I've got to reply myself to that email.
So I do apologize for the short notice, but this was, again, like with all staff members, we want to try to create space that is convenient and is accessible as possible. So this candidate is from out of state. They happen to be in state. So that is the reason for the a little bit compressed timeline. It was to make sure that we could get that candidate while they were here. So apologies that it is a little bit short notice, but it just worked out that we could do that. And we I think everyone thought that was in the best interest, because we do, as you can imagine, there are a number of talented candidates. I'm sure these folks are pretty sought after. So if we have the opportunity to beat someone out for these folks, we want to do that. So apologies again for the compressed timeline, but as we get that defined, we'll be sure to let you know. If you do have questions or a topic you'd like addressed and you're not able to be a part of one of these, please just shoot it to myself or Megan. We'll make sure that we incorporate your questions into these interviews as well.
And I just wanted to thank Senator Bridget Leslie for being a part of the interviews as well in the process. I think it has been phenomenal to have our representation on the search committee. So it's been really neat to see, again, something from here come to life, and it's going to be a huge resource for our whole community. So very excited about it.
Jessica.
So I did get an email from Caroline, and I do have availability on Thursday from 2:15 to 3. If anybody wanted to meet the interview with the candidate, as well as 1 to 2 for our lunch meeting. And she stated that you would go to lunch with the person, and you would be reimbursed. So if anybody's interested, you can just let me know as soon as possible so I can email them.
Does anyone know a good place for 50 for lunch? Maybe we'll try to limit that one. Yeah, the Doty. That's good. Yeah, we'll see what the Doty menu is that day. Yeah. Thank you, Jessica. Please, let's shoot that out so everyone's got that. But if you didn't hear, there are a couple of times on Thursday that are available for folks to participate in those interviews. One last note. I'm sorry to keep on going back, but I thought what was really important is when we had the initial screening of these candidates that the staff Senate input was extremely important. And I think everyone in that room agreed that we also, it was asked of me and I responded a resounding yes, that we would like as part of that person's job to attend our staff Senate meetings. We think that there's a ton of value in that. One, we want to make sure that senators have a direct line and open communication with that, with the person in that position, as well as we want to make sure that the person in that position understands from a university level the things that we're discussing, what we're working on. And, we are obviously very connected to staff members and can relay what's happening around campus to that individual. So another good win for us. And I think also what's important is that even those who are not maybe in the weeds on how that position and that idea came about, understand that this was very much driven by staff Senate and want to make sure that we're involved, not just in the creation of the position, but in the daily functioning of that position. So, sorry, community projects.
Karl normally does the talking in front of everyone, so I'm having Senator Ziegler come up here with me since I don't like to stand by myself. So first of all, thank you to everyone that came out on Service Saturday on October 28th. We had a great time. Here's our picture. It was lots of fun. So to give you kind of an idea of what we did, we met at Davis Field and we walked to the MLK Park. Where we started to pick up trash. We had a route throughout the neighborhood down there. And so it was a great time for fellowship. We got to help the community. And we also got to meet some of the neighbors, which was a lot of fun. Just so you know, the next service Saturday is this coming Saturday, November 18th. So that's the last one for this the fall semester. So if you want to help, then you can go ahead and sign up on the service Saturday. So we also are still collecting our pop-top tabs. We're going to collect those until the end of the semester. And I see a lot of people with really full containers. Thank y'all so much. I have a bag in my office that just keeps growing and growing. So we love it. And so today we're collecting for the Student Success Center and for Kayla Stevenson at Hand Middle School. So there's like a card up here. I didn't want everything to fall through, so sorry about this. But if you don't mind, if you have any supplies that you would like to donate, put them in the cart up here. If you forgot them or if you haven't been able to get to the store, if you want, we can connect and I'll be more than happy to come and pick them up from anyone. But thank y'all so much. We're really excited to get to help out in the community.
Thank you very much. professional development.
Some minimal updates this time. We've reached out to the Office of Organizational and Professional Development. We want to have them come to our February meeting. We're waiting on a response from that team. We're also wanting to do a survey like was done last year. So speaking of feedback from senators, if there are questions or items that you think would be important for the Office of Organizational and Professional Development to take into consideration when they're planning outreach events, or just things that you want to know about what professional development is going on campus, please feel free to send those items to us. We want to make sure that we're including the questions that they want to ask because they're a very small office. But we also want to make sure that when we do a survey, we get as much information as possible that's useful for future outreach and events. So please feel free to send any items that you think would be helpful to that end to me. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so this is the official first reading of the proposed bylaw change about committee memberships. So you can see it currently reads all senators are eligible to serve on a committee. Senators may serve on multiple committees, but the revision kind of sets a minimum limit on there that says senators will be assigned to one standing committee by the executive committee. A standing committee must have a minimum of 4 assigned senators. If a standing committee falls below the 4 senator minimum, senators may be assigned by be reassigned by the executive committee. Senators may serve on additional committees on a volunteer basis as long as it does not impact their duties associated with their assigned committee. This was the culmination of a couple of different weeks of conversations with the membership committee, executive committee, and our team. So take this back to your constituents, take comment, and then we will vote in the December meeting.
Does anyone have any questions on, this is obviously this first reading, but does anyone have any questions on this they'd like to ask before we move on? Senator Culpepper.
Can you define dropping below 4? Is that a permanent drop, or if somebody goes on extended leave, whatever, does that mean somebody's going to get reassigned to that committee goes below 4?
I would say just permanent.
Permanent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would the numbers for the committees change based on not with the?
No, so we're not setting a maximum, so as long as there is a minimum of 4.
This may be addressed in another part of the bylaws, but the duties associated with the assigned committee. What about additionally duties assigned with their current job responsibility? Just don't want people to overcommit themselves and not get their daytime jobs.
I don't necessarily have an answer for that, but I think that that's more like a personal thing, I guess. I mean, the heart behind that, I say, is because we didn't want someone to say they're going to volunteer on every single committee, and even though they're assigned to communications, but they want to volunteer on the professional development committee, they can't not uphold their commitment to the communications committee because they want to volunteer with another one. That's the goal behind that.
I think one other note on that, and we've discussed this before, is anything we put in the bylaws needs to basically fall under our purview or have some sort of enforcement in a delicate way of that. So that would fall under your supervisor outside of the staff senate, but with these, basically all we can really dictate and regulate is what happens in the confines of staff senate. Senator Knight.
So are you still going to allow senators to add on the
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And next year's president is also shaking a resounding yes on that.
Yeah, we want you to be part of committees you want to be part of, so yes, but it'll kind of be that same ranking that we have on the forms, 1, 2, 3, hoping that whatever your top 3 are, you'll probably land within that. But just knowing if there's ever issues, which there hasn't been, other than a few mix-up based off of forms.
Mhm.
So we'll gather all that.
And I think historically, we've been able to fulfill not everyone's first choice, at least their second. And I think roughly probably 9% was their first choice. So I think that will always be the goal. Any others? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon. The Awards and Recognition Committee met last on October 24th. We reviewed the charge again because we had new members and we welcomed them and kind of went around Robin to introduce ourselves. We discussed the draft proposed budget again that's still with the executive committee, as well as the draft resolution we heard the first reading at our last general body meeting. We're hoping that will move forward so that we can start fast-tracking it through the legislators. We are also working, so we're working on reviewing the criteria for awards, seeing how we can potentially expand the number of awards, and being that the president matched our last awards, we're looking to see how we can expand there. Also, we put forth an initiative for more award money to support that effort. So we're moving forward with that as homework. And we did another poll to find another static date, and that's forthcoming to the committee so we can settle on a standing date. Are there any questions?
Fundraising and development.
Yes, I think Senator Malloy is out. So that's it. The reason I was asking the question about bylaws is that we would be below 3, and I wanted to know who I got to steal from somebody else. So,
We'll ask for volunteers first.
yeah, there you go. Short and sweet, I think Senator Malloy mentioned in our last meeting that we were going to focus on Give for Garnet. One thing that we're doing right now is we're kind of seeing how much out-of-pocket staff members are having to pay if they decide to take a class, whether it's at the undergrad or the grad level. So of course, we know we get the benefits of being able to take one class per semester, but then of course there are fees and materials and those sorts of things. So we're trying to figure out how to figure that out. And then beyond that, once we ascertain that number, we kind of want to see what our impact would be, how many folks we'd be able to serve, and kind of pair that with what's a realistic goal to try to raise for Give for Garnet. So we're still in our infancy here, but I think we've got some good momentum after our first meeting last month, and hope to have something a little more concrete when we get back at the start of the new year. So, Senators Knight, Carlo, anything I left out? We good? Excellent. Good deal.
And I think everyone probably is aware, but Senator Alan Malloy did have a baby boy, so we send her send our heartfelt congratulations and well wishes. Mom and baby are doing well. Also texted with dad. Dad's doing well as well. So, but Senator Alan Malloy, we miss you and look forward to seeing you back here very soon. All right. So our order of business here. Let me scroll through here. Is the draft resolution, which was introduced at our last committee meeting on first reading. A finalized copy was both. You should have that in hand as well as presented here. So we will move into discussion and debate on this following Robert's Rules of Orders. So I don't get in trouble with our parliamentarian. We first need to start with a motion to adopt, a second, and then we can move to the discussion and debate period if anyone feels so moved. So is there a motion? Senator Quorum moves. Is there a second? Second from Senator Herron. All right. Discussion or debate on the resolution. Senator Leslie, we did move on to onto your resolution. So any member wishing to speak on the resolution? Hearing none, then sorry.
Senator Barry.
Treasurer Barry.
University Health Services should be student health info.
Senator Leslie, you want to adopt that as a friendly amendment?
Yeah.
Okay. So Senator Leslie, we'll adopt that as a friendly amendment and we'll make that change upon its passage. Thank you, Treasurer Barry. Any other discussion or debate? All right, then the question is on the adoption. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Also, to make one unanimous consent request that any typographical or name that we may discover that the sponsor of the resolution be allowed to make those with the consent of the body. Is there any objection to that? No objection. Thank you. Moving on. All right, we do have a couple of formal announcements that are in the slide deck, but before we get to those, does any senator have an announcement or anything for the good of the order? We've got several in there, and then I've got a couple of closing comments as well, but just want to make sure that any senator has the opportunity to do so. So anyone with an announcement, good news, something to celebrate, something about your unit? Yes, no, maybe. Senator Culpepper.
We had our graduate school 3-minute thesis competition on Friday, and Senators Herron, this is in here, Taylor, and James all stepped up to help us review. And so being part of this body gives our graduate students exposure to a diverse range of folks who serve the university and serve them. And so we're thankful for the folks that were able to help us out last Friday.
Thank you to all those. I'm sure I'll speak to Senator Culpepper. Any of those who would like to volunteer for that activity, again, I'm sure you can reach out to Senator Culpepper and be more than happy to offer you the runway to do so. So thank you for those that volunteer. Senator Chambers.
This is also for
Any others? Thank you to Jessica. We've got a handout there about the deadline to donate to the leave transfer pool. So please, 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 if you, we have a number of staff members who have had a dedicated history with the university. So you may have the flexibility to donate to the leave pool without any sort of penalty or missing out on the opportunity for you to utilize your own leave. So please go online and check that. And the deadline to donate is as bolded on the handout, Friday, December 1st. So please encourage all of you to do that, but please encourage your constituents as well, particularly if you know staff members who do have a lot of dedicated years of service here that may have the opportunity to donate. That deadline is December the 1st. All right, Vice President Classy.
Yeah, so the university is doing a midnight breakfast for students with the president's office, special events with student life and within student affairs. So if you and your staff don't interact with students that often or really do and love interacting with them, they're looking for volunteers to do the midnight breakfast with the president, the first lady, and a lot of other volunteers to serve the students. So just a great opportunity to get together. And so that is December 8th from 10 to 12:30 a.m. My 9 p.m. soul is like cringing at that, but something that I'll be there and hope to volunteer with you all. So if you want to have a good time in Russell House or Pavilion, I think actually, or both Russell House and the Pavilion, in 2 different locations for our student bodies, please come down, sign up. This is a sign up to use link. We'd love to have you.
Thank you. We'll make sure that we distribute this link as well, but please volunteer if you can, and hopefully everyone's supervisors, if you are there at 12:30 a.m. will understand if maybe you come in a little bit later that day. Oh, I did get ahead of myself, but congratulations to Alan Malloy. There is sweet young Marshall. If you know anything about the Alan Malloy family, I'm sure that will soon be Senator Marshall Malloy. I'm sure we'll see that name on a ballot somewhere as well sometime soon. Obviously, our next meeting day, we'll get to that. I did want to piggyback off on something that I was discussing in our last Staff Senate meeting that unfortunately the fire alarm went off in the midst of my commentary. But I do think that obviously we're in November, we're in near the midpoint. There's a lot going on, but I hope we just don't lose sight of the important work that we're doing. I know that with our day jobs, with family commitments, holidays, there's a lot going on, but just keep in mind that our constituents really do rely on us to be their advocate, and we are that, and we are their frontline defense on a number of things, but we also are the individuals that can really move the needle for them. So I know that there's so many things, so many different opportunities for you to engage with your constituents. Please be taking advantage of those throughout this semester. I know that again, a lot going on. But what really made me reflect on this, if you remember about a month ago, in my alma mater in Chapel Hill, there was a shooting on campus and no one knew exactly what was going on. But what was really poignant, and a number of parents actually commented on this, is that as there was this real hysteria, this real concern, confusion, that the housekeeping staff and the janitorial staff were the ones that were securing the buildings, securing the spaces, securing the classrooms, securing the offices. And I thought that was really a poignant thing. And I have no doubt, I wish Senator Leroy Sims were still here, but I have no doubt that his staff and his team on our campus would do the exact same thing. And I think that just really speaks to the fact that staff members at the university, whether it's some sort of potential tragedy or whether it's ensuring that staff members have the appropriate resources, that we really do come together, particularly in times of need. And hopefully those times of danger, those times of need are limited. But it spoke to me directly and made me think of this body, that there are a number of you that have made a ton of sacrifices who advocate for your staff. This was just one example. And I know that had that occurred on this campus, that our folks who are, too often maybe overlooked or forgotten, were the ones who were literally putting their lives at risk to protect students and other staff. So I hope that is also a reminder to us that there's a number of staff members that maybe we don't see or speak to on a regular basis, but that's really why we're here. For those staff members who don't feel like they have a direct line to university leadership or organization, your unit leadership, that we can be that direct line and that voice to them. So let's continue with that at the forefront of our minds. Continue our advocacy work. As things happen throughout the next couple of months until we meet again, please let us know. I know we threw a lot of different dates and a lot of different opportunities out to you today. We'll be sure that we get those to you in writing. And then we look forward to seeing you again on Tuesday, December 12th at 3 o'clock. I know we are wrapping up a little bit earlier since we didn't have our guest speaker. Please feel free to hang out a little bit afterwards. If any committees want to have an impromptu meeting, or if you just want a little social time with each other, that is encouraged as well. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn? Senator Culpepper moves. There a second? Senator Herron seconds. All in favor say aye. Opposed no. The ayes have it.